Hello everyone, my name is Matt, also known as the Survivor Guy, and today I'm using every piece of information given to us about Survivor 50 already in order to figure out the order in which all of the contestants will be voted out.
Welcome to Survivor 50, Mr. Survivor Guy.
Hello everyone. Survivor 50 is just around the corner, and if you're on the Survivor part of the internet like I am, you've probably seen a lot of people making videos with their predictions or shouting out their favorites who they hope to win, stuff like that. And since this is such a popular trend in the Survivor community, I thought, I should probably hop on that, make some kind of video saying who my favorites are, who I think is going to win and all that. But I don't run this channel by just doing what everyone else is doing. No. I have to always take it a step further, add a unique element to mine. So what I've done is I've looked at the three major pieces of information that they've put out so far. The first being the first look shown at the end of season 49. The second being the first article written by Dalton Ross for Entertainment Weekly, which is just kind of a pre-game article detailing the mindset of the survivors going into Survivor 50. And then the second, which is the most interesting to me, is the video also by Dalton Ross of Entertainment Weekly, where everyone votes out who they want out of Survivor 50 first, which seems like it would give us the most information for the boot order, but in actuality, doesn't really give us that much at all. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. So the crazy plan that I came up with is using the information, the breadcrumbs that we were given from those three pieces of information. I think that I can piece together exactly how Survivor 50 goes. The exact boot order, who's aligned with who makes it to the end, who votes for who on the jury, and who wins Survivor 50. I've always said on this channel that I'd be a great Survivor player, and in order to be a great Survivor player, you have to use the information at your disposal in order to make the move that has the highest odds of you winning the game. So I'm going to use the information at my disposal to give you what I think to be the highest odds of who goes home when, and hopefully I'm right. If I'm right, you know what? If I'm right, Jeff, you gotta put me on Survivor. Even if I've got above 50% accuracy in my boot order, I feel like that's good enough that you gotta put me on the show. One thing I want to point out before we get started is I will only be using those three promotional materials as my evidence for this video, along with the leaked tribes. So if you want to avoid spoilers for the leaked tribes, maybe click off this video. But I know that there's leaked information and spoilers out there. I will not be using any of those. I don't want to see those myself. So this is a spoiler-free prediction for Survivor 50, so you don't have to worry about me leaking any actual information for Survivor 50. So before we can just get to, all right, this person's going home first, this person's going home second, there are a few things that we need to take care of first. So the first major issue is that Survivor 50 has 24 players, which is way higher than anything we've seen before. Especially for a 26-game day of Survivor. Did I say 26-game day? Yeah, that's not words. Especially for a 26-day game of Survivor that we're going to assume has 13 or 14 episodes, keeping in line with what we've seen in the new era so far. We need to figure out how are they going to fit all of these people being voted out into a normal season of Survivor. So here's how I think the structure is going to work out with 24 players. So we know that there are going to be 3 tribes. So what if only one tribe wins immunity? That means each time that someone is voted out, 2 tribes are going to tribal council and 2 people are being voted out. So let's say for 5 episodes this pattern goes on. So 5 episodes, 2 people voted out per episode would give us 10 people gone, 14 left. One of the things that people were able to vote for the in the hands of the fans part of the thing, was whether or not there would be a tribe swap. Now, we don't have the official results for the voting yet, but Instagram account All Winners Survivor did their own poll of Survivor fans on Instagram, and with an overwhelming majority, people voted for yes to a tribe swap, so I'm going to assume that there is going to be a tribe swap. So after those first 5 episodes where 10 people are voted out, that's when the tribe swap happens. After the tribe swap, there's still 3 tribes, still 1 tribe winning immunity, meaning 2 more tribes going to tribal council, 2 more people voted out, which leaves us at 12 after the 6th episode. 7th episode is the merge, and after the merge, one person is voted out per episode. So 7th episode, we have first merge vote, not jury yet, because remember we have 12, so after that vote there are 11 left. 11 left is when we start with the jury. Assuming that there are 5 left in the final episode, that would mean that at 1 per episode, we get 14 episodes in the season, and the numbers work out pretty well. All right, so now that we have the schedule with which people will be voted out, we can start examining our 3 pieces of evidence. So the first one, the first look at the end of Survivor 49, gives us like a little bit of information. Some of the things that are of note, they show certain people talking about advantages and celebrity visits. We don't know if those are pre-merge or post-merge. My assumption is that they're not going to show anything from post-merge. So that's all pre-merge stuff. But even if it is pre-merge, I don't think the first person voted out would see Zach Brown on Survivor or have a Billie Eilish boomerang idol. So there's like a little bit of information there. The other piece of information that I've seen some people talk about online, so I just want to address it, is Christian's beard. We see in the opening shot of Christian that he is clean shaven, and then later on we see that he has a little bit of a beard growing in here. I don't think this gives us as much information as some people are saying that it does, because if you look at David versus Goliath, that beard grew in very quick. So maybe that tells us he's not the first vote out, but I don't think it really helps us beyond that. Most of the information that I'm going to be using is coming from those 2 Entertainment Weekly articles. There was a lot of pre-game talk about who people are planning on working with, who people are planning on targeting. So I think that first article is going to be the most useful for us here. It would seem like the video of the survivors voting out their first person would be the most useful, but here's a clip of that video that will hopefully get you to understand why I'm a little bit doubtful about the validity of the information that we're getting from that video.
You've won this game once, and I looked at your feet, and your toes are big, and I don't like that.
So, yes, that is Q just being Q, so it is possible that that is real information or not. I really could not tell you if he was being serious or if he was joking. But that's the problem with this video is there were some people that you could tell were clearly joking. There were some people you could tell were clearly serious. And then there were a lot of people where it's like, I don't know if they're serious or if they're joking. And looking at the tribe divisions, which is what we're going to get to next, I think they were very strategic in the way that they released this information in both of those articles. Because what you'll see is the survivors that were called out by other survivors are usually not on the same tribe as the people that they called out. And if you were called out, you're not on the tribe with the person who called you out. I think any information where survivors called out or plan to target somebody that they end up on a tribe with, they strategically left that information out of the article so that we couldn't do what I'm about to do in this very video right here. It was a good try, Dalton, but I think I figured it out anyway. So I think you gave us just enough for me to put this whole thing together. So now let's take a look at the tribes and I will walk you through my thought process. All right, so I'm gonna start with the purple tribe because I just think there's the most to talk about here. So right away, based on the information that we've been given, Stephanie and Genevieve are by far in the best position. So in the first article, Angelina calls out Colby because apparently Colby had said that Angelina was too chaotic. So even before this article came out, I predicted that the two of them, just personality-wise, are going to have a pretty big clash. And what we saw in the article pretty much confirms that these two are not going to like each other. They're not going to get along. And I have a very strong feeling that their clash is going to be public. And that's going to have some kind of friction for the very first vote of this tribe. Another thing worth bringing up, Q and Aubrey. Again, I think there's going to be a personality clash there. I think theirs isn't going to be as public as Colby and Angelina. But Aubrey has mentioned that she's not a fan of the fact that in season 46, Q voted out Mariah because he thought that she was too much like Aubrey. Which, you know, valid. That I would be the same way if I were in Aubrey's position. So that's another very clear division that we can go off of there. Rizzo has been called out many times just because nobody has seen Survivor 49 at this point. So both Rizzo and Savannah are getting a lot of heat, especially after the last time in a returner season that we had somebody that was unknown was Russell Hantz in Heroes vs. Villains. And Colby was there. I'm sure he remembers what happened when they underestimated Russell Hantz. So I don't think anybody here is going to underestimate the two from 49. So they're in a bit of trouble right out the gate. And then the last thing on this tribe, Kyle just won. 48 was the last season that these people have seen. So Kyle's win is very fresh on everyone's mind. So he is also going to have a pretty big target right away. And then the last thing that I want to mention, so my first thought looking at this tribe is that Rizzo is a strong contender for the first out because nobody's seen him play. However, in the first look at Survivor 50, Rizzo has this famous line.
Now I see Zach Brown on Survivor.
So regardless of the thoughts on the celebrity involvement in Survivor 50, I don't think Zach Brown would be showing up before anybody is voted out. Which leads me to believe that Rizzo is not the first out of this tribe somehow. So, like I said, a lot of information that we have on this tribe that we can use to figure out the boot order. So I'm going to start with the first thing that I mentioned, which is Colby and Angelina. They're going to clash. They're going to clash hard. They're going to clash publicly. And I think that Angelina is going to get the first boot from this tribe. So because there's going to be such a clear division right out of the gate, I think the rest of the tribe is going to be like one of these two has to go so that we can get it together and win challenges. I think Stephanie and Colby are going to have that old school connection. They played together in Heroes vs. Villains, so I think they're going to kind of gravitate towards each other. Also, a lot of other people have mentioned that they think that Angelina is a little bit shifty, which if you've seen David vs. Goliath, I think that's a pretty valid opinion to have. I think that they were going to think that Colby is very trustworthy and not very strategic, because if you look at his previous seasons, he's pretty loyal and he's not very strategic. Whereas Angelina has a lot more of a strategic mind. She is more likely to stab any of these people in the back. So if they are picking between the two of them, I see most of the tribe siding with Colby over Angelina. So I don't think that Angelina is going to be able to put together enough of a case for herself to survive that first vote. After that first vote, I think Aubrey is now going to want to focus on her Q problem. I don't think that Q is going to have a whole lot of allies on this tribe just because, like Angelina, he is a very chaotic player. I think maybe Rizzo might see some value in working with Q, but Aubrey is definitely going to be gunning for him. I think Colby and Stephanie, having voted with Aubrey in the last vote, are going to want to keep working together. I don't think Genevieve or Kyle are going to be too fond of having such a wild card in there. And I think Kyle is also going to want to stick with the majority so that nobody starts looking at him. So I think Q is unfortunately going to be the next one out just based off of his reputation and the fact that, quite frankly, I don't think he's going to be able to dial in his craziness like he said that he was going to try to do. Because again, this is what he said in the preseason interview.
Maybe you should wear shoes on the beach. Don't wear sandals around me. Good luck, you've already won.
So I think Q is going to be the second out of this tribe. After those first two votes, I think we're going to have a core 4 alliance formed in this tribe, and I think that core 4 is going to consist of Colby, Stephanie, Genevieve, and Aubrey, which leaves Kyle and Rizzo on the outs. I don't think anyone is going to want to bring them into the merge or work with them just because of how dangerous they are. So I think that this core 4 is going to, in the next vote, have to decide between Kyle and Rizzo, and I think they are going to choose to get out Kyle over Rizzo. The reason for that is twofold. So the first is I think that Rizzo does a very good job of playing up the I'm just a silly little guy kind of dynamic, whereas Kyle is a known strategist. So I think even though this group is going to be like Rizzo's an unknown, and it probably will cross their mind that he's playing up that persona a little bit, I think they're going to choose to get out the known strategic threat and kind of bank on the fact that nobody else is going to trust Rizzo. So they can always get him out later, and the fact that he might not have any allies after a merge or a tribe swap could work in their favor to force him to stick with them. Now, the way that only one tribe winning immunity is going to work, there have to be 10 people out before the tribe swap in my prediction, which means that one tribe is going to lose more than the other tribes. I don't think there's really going to be a disaster tribe like we've seen a lot. I think it's going to be pretty even. If I had to guess which tribe is going to lose more than the others, I do think it's going to be this tribe. And I think the reason for that is just because of the very strong fractures that we have early on. A lot of times when we see a tribe lose a lot in the early stages of the game, it's because of fractures like this. So that is why I have 4 people being voted out of this tribe before the swap, whereas with the other 2 tribes I only have 3. So because we have a core 4 alliance here, Rizzo is the only option for that core 4 to boot out. It also works because they don't really trust him because he's an unknown variable in the game. Alright, so next up is the Orange tribe. We have significantly less to go off of here, but we still have enough to make what I think is a pretty accurate prediction. We know from the first look, Christian has some kind of involvement with Jimmy Fallon, and Rick Devens has the Billie Eilish boomerang idol. So I'm assuming that neither of them are going to be the first boot of this tribe. Other than that, Savannah is a huge target because she was just on 49. No one's seen her play. And also, I don't know how they know this, but they know that she is the winner of Survivor 49.
I'm voting for Savannah because I heard a rumor that she won season 49.
So in the first article by Entertainment Weekly, Savannah said that her original plan was to lie about winning Survivor 49 and say that she did not win, which I think would be a great move. But now there's this rumor going around, and she's caught wind of this rumor that she won 49, so she said that she's going to come clean. I think for Savannah, it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation here, because if she lied and said that she didn't win 49, a lot of people probably wouldn't believe her, and then they'd vote her out for lying. But if she says that she did win 49, a lot of people are going to be like, well, if you won 49, you got to be pretty smart, and then vote her out because of that. So I do have Savannah as being the first one out of this tribe. I just don't think that she has any kind of ammunition that she can use to save herself here. I don't think any of the players on this tribe are going to want a winner that they've never seen play before on their tribe. After that vote, I think that's probably going to be a unanimous vote that everyone can agree on, so it's an easy first vote. I do see Christian and Emily getting along very well. I do see Sari, as she does, kind of taking control of this tribe. So I do think the 3 of Christian, Emily, and Sari are going to make a great alliance and are going to kind of control the vote from here on out. I can see Sari pulling in Jenna into that to make a core 4 alliance, and the reason I can see that is because they're both old school players, and we haven't really seen, I mean, Jenna hasn't played since season 8, and even when we did see her play, there wasn't a whole lot strategically going on. So I think Sari is going to kind of pull her in, not to be a part of the decision making, but just as an extra vote that they can use however they want. So I think Sari's first target is going to be Ozzy. My prediction here, maybe it's a little bit bold, is that after the vote of Savannah is when Devens finds the Billie Eilish boomerang idol. So Sari comes up with this plan to make Devens think that it's him so that he wastes the idol. But in reality, she's going to vote for Ozzy. And the reason she wants Ozzy out is because they've played before. They're both old school players. And she doesn't want, going into a tribe swap or a merge, people to think that they're a very tight pair. So I think that she is going to blindside Ozzy here. I think Joe is going to vote with them for now. But I don't think Joe is going to be very tight in that group. I think he's going to kind of be the guy on the bottom of this tribe. Next out, because Devens wasted his Billie Eilish boomerang idol when they voted out Ozzy, I think they're just going to get Devens the next time. Everyone else has voted together. I don't see Devens really making his way into that kind of core alliance there. I just don't think him and Suri are going to get along. I think Suri sees him as a threat and is going to want him out of there as soon as possible. And then the last tribe, the Teal tribe, really not a lot of information at all going on with this tribe. The only thing that we have is that a lot of people said that they wanted to work with Coach, but again, I don't know if that's like accurate information or if it was kind of said in a joking manner. It's kind of hard to tell based on the quotes that were given in the article. With this one, I'm kind of basing it more off of the personalities and who might perceive who as the biggest threat. Right out of the gate, I feel like Charlie and Chrissy are going to be a very tight pair, kind of similar to Charlie and Maria on season 46. I also think that Camilla could be a good member of that alliance. Three really smart, strategic people that are going to kind of be on a very similar wavelength. And I think that Charlie, because he's played with Tiff before, could pull her in as the fourth there, creating a nice alliance of 4 at this point. And I think their first target is going to be D, because just like with All Stars Season 8, a lot of people were like, we need to get the winners out first. That seems to be the same sentiment that we're seeing going into 50, is that people want winners out as soon as possible, and the only winner on this tribe is D, and a lot of people consider her to be the best winner of the new era. So this is definitely someone that they're going to want to get out early. So I can see this also being a unanimous vote. Maybe not Mike White. I don't really see him having a lot of chemistry with people here, but I think that core 4 that I mentioned can definitely get Coach and Jonathan on board with that vote. Next out, there's been a lot of talk about Mike White in the pregame, because a lot of people are concerned that he's going to kind of skate by so that people can get a cameo on the White Lotus. We saw with David vs. Goliath, a lot of the people that he worked with on that season did get a cameo on White Lotus, so a lot of people are concerned about that. If we look at who I think is running this tribe right now, which is Charlie, Chrissy, and Camilla, I don't think any of the 3 of them are going to put a cameo in White Lotus above the game of Survivor, and I think that they know that some people in a tribe swap or a merge situation definitely will. So I think for that reason, they're going to be like, we got to get Mike out pre-merge, pre-tribe swap. So I think he's going to be the second one out of this tribe. And then the third one out of this tribe, I mean, we've got that core 4. They've been working with Coach and Jonathan up until this point, but the 2 of them are kind of on the bottom. So they have to figure out which one of them they're going to cut. Because people have said that they wanted to work with Coach, I think Coach is more likely to be an olive branch for them in a tribe swap or in a merge situation than Jonathan. I think Jonathan's way more likely to flip on this group, and I think that they know that, so I think they're going to choose to keep Coach around and send Jonathan home. Alright, so that has been 5 episodes, 2 tribal councils per episode, 10 people gone. I think at this point, based on the fan voting, there is going to be a tribe swap. Usually when we have a tribe swap, it's kind of very close to the merge. So I'm thinking there's going to be a tribe swap. There's going to be 1 episode, 2 tribal councils, 1 group safe, just like we've seen in the previous episodes. And then the next episode is when the merge is going to happen. Looking at a tribe swap, there isn't really any way to predict who's going to end up where, right? It's completely random what buff they draw out of the bag. So I can't say for sure who is going to survive the tribe swap and who is going to be out. But I mentioned at the beginning, I'm just going based off the information I have with what I think the most likely option is, who I think the odds are against at this point, and looking at the tribes that we have left, the odds are against the purple tribe because the other 2 tribes have 5 people and they only have 4. So even though they're a tight 4, the odds are that they are going to be down in numbers on a tribe swap. So who do I think is the most likely to go, not knowing what the swap tribes are going to look like? I hate to say it, but I think it's going to be Colby. And the reason that I think that is if the purple tribe is down in numbers on whatever tribe they end up on, I think people are going to know that this purple tribe is a very tight 4. And I think that out of that very tight 4, the least likely to flip, the most loyal, and the most likable is going to be Colby. And because he has kind of that big target of carrying a big name, of being an old school player that has played many times, I think that a lot of people are going to be wanting to claim getting out Colby as a move on their resume, which is why he's going to be the first one out of the tribe swap. I think the second most likely to go would be Coach, and the reason I think that is because if you look at the Orange Tribe and you look at the Teal Tribe, I feel like the Teal Tribe is less tight with Coach than the Orange Tribe is with Joe and Jenna. I also think that the Teal Tribe has more of kind of like your snaky strategy players that would be willing to sacrifice Coach if it meant that they could get another day closer to the merge and potentially survive themselves. So I can see a scenario where the Teal Tribe is down in numbers on a swap, and any member of the Core 4 would offer up Coach as a sacrificial lamb to make sure that they make it to the merge, even if it means one of their tribe members going home. After the tribe swap, now in a merge situation, a lot of this is kind of conjecture. The information that we're given is really about the very early game, which I think is by design. So the tribe swap, I just kind of went with these based on the story that I've been weaving thus far, or what I think the most likely vote outs are. And from this point on, it's probably going to be more of that. So if I was wrong about one thing leading up till now, the story kind of completely unravels. But, I'm taking a little bit of creative license here, I'm going to look like a genius if it turns out that any of this is right. So here's my vision for the merge and the jury. So there's going to be one person voted out post-merge that does not make the jury. And based on who we have here, the alliances that we've established, I think the most likely to go is going to be Suri. I think the Purple Tribe and the Teal Tribe are going to be setting their sights on the Orange Tribe because they're up in numbers. The Purple Tribe is going to have a pretty tight alliance. The Teal Tribe is going to have a pretty tight alliance. So I think it just makes sense for the two of them to join forces for this first vote. I think that they're all smart enough to look at this Orange Tribe and tell that Suri is kind of leading it. I think Christian is also going to be a big target for them, just because of how likable he is and because he is a very, very smart player. So I think this tribe is going to be deciding between the two of them. I think what's going to set them over the edge, in the pregame article, Stephanie mentioned that she wants to get Suri out because Suri is her kryptonite in these games. Those were her exact words. So I think if these two tribes are deciding between Suri and Christian, she's going to be pushing hard for Suri. And I think everyone else is going to be like, no, what, Suri is probably more of the leader of that Orange Tribe than Christian is. So we'll get Suri out first. So I think that is going to be the vote there. For the next vote, Genevieve has mentioned in the preseason interviews that she sees Joe as a very big threat, and the reason is because he is very likable and because he has a lot of allies. Now, at this point, Kyle is already gone, but Camilla is still here. They're definitely the closest pair from previous seasons left in the game. Charlie and Tiff did play 46 together, but they didn't really work together at all during 46 the way Camilla and Joe did. So I think after the Suri vote, Genevieve, now that she's kind of solidified a working relationship with members of the other tribe, is going to be able to push for a vote on Joe. Obviously, Camilla is not going to go for this, so she's going to leave Camilla out of it. I think that they are going to be able to convince Emily to kind of jump ship from that sinking Orange Tribe and join them, and they're going to leave Christian and Jenna out of the vote as well. So I think Joe is going to be the vote out here, which would leave Christian, Jenna, and Camilla kind of on the bottom, being left out of that vote. And I think after the Joe vote, Camilla is going to be pretty pissed off, so she's going to want to kind of mount a counterattack against Genevieve. I don't think she's going to have the numbers to get Genevieve here, because I think Charlie and Chrissy are going to try and play the middle. They now have a working relationship with Genevieve and the Purple Tribe, but obviously they started with Camilla, so they're going to kind of try and reconcile the fact that they left Camilla out of that last vote, while also still trying to work with Genevieve and the Purple Tribe so they can position themselves in a nice kind of swing vote position. So I don't think that Camilla is going to be able to get the numbers against Genevieve here, even though she would like to, but I do think that she is going to be able to swing the numbers to get out Genevieve's closest ally in Aubrey. So what I think is going to happen here, we're going to have a 6-4 vote. So I think Camilla, Charlie, Chrissy, Jenna, Christian, and Emily are all going to vote Aubrey. And I think Aubrey, Genevieve, Stephanie, and Tiff are all going to go against Camilla. And I think Charlie and Chrissy are going to have kind of achieved their goals of being the swing vote in this one, where they're the ones deciding, is it Aubrey or is it Camilla going home in this vote? So after the Aubrey vote, I think for the next vote, that newly formed majority is going to kind of continue to work together. Chrissy and Charlie, even though they want to work with Genevieve a little bit, I don't think there's a way for them to do that at this point. So even though they wanted to keep their options open, I think they're not going to really have a choice but to vote with everyone else against Genevieve here. Genevieve had a pretty good move before. She's seen as a very big threat, so I think the numbers are just kind of going that way, and you either hop on board or you're on the bottom. I do think for the next vote that Charlie and Chrissy aren't going to be very happy that they had to vote out Genevieve. And I think that they're going to start thinking that Camilla is now running this game instead of them, and they're not going to like that very much. So I do think that after that last vote, they're going to start spreading the word that Camilla's very smart, she's very strategic, she's running this game, she's got to go. So I think at this point, Stephanie and Tiff are kind of feeling on the bottom. So I think Charlie and Chrissy are going to kind of sweep them up. But at that point, it'd be a 4-4 tie, right? Charlie, Chrissy, Stephanie, Tiff against Camilla, Christian, Emily, and Jenna. And I think in order to break this tie, Charlie and Chrissy are going to push heavily on Jenna and say, you're on the bottom if you stick with that group. You got to come with us. And I think Jenna is going to kind of feel like she's on the bottom because she really hasn't had a whole lot of involvement in the moves and has just been told who to vote for up until this point. So I think she is going to flop over to the other side here, and Camilla is going to go out. Now that we have this newly formed 5, I think for the next vote, they're going to keep working together, which unfortunately means that they are deciding between Christian and Emily, and I think of those two, they're going to think Christian is the bigger threat, and he is going to go out next, leaving Emily completely on the bottom without any allies. What I think is going to happen from here, Emily is now completely on the bottom. She has nothing left to lose. She's going to try whatever she can to stay in this game. So I think what she's going to do, she's going to go to Stephanie and she's going to go to Tiff and she's going to be like, look, Charlie and Chrissy have been running this game. They're completely in charge. If you let them get to the end, they are going to win. You have to join with me right now to vote them out. And I think that Stephanie and Tiff are going to be kind of receptive to this, but they're going to be like, well, if we jump on board with you, it's going to be 3-3. It's going to be a tie. We're not going to do that. And I think that after that, they're going to come up with this plan where they can spread a rumor to Charlie and to Chrissy saying, Jenna's been wishy-washy, she's been flip-flopping back and forth. We saw her talking with Emily. She's not with us. We should get her out now. And I think that it's going to be a unanimous vote for Jenna here. And there's going to be a secret alliance formed of Emily, Stephanie, and Tiff, who are going to have their sights set on Charlie and Chrissy, who have been kind of running the show the last few votes. After that vote, Charlie and Chrissy are getting a little cocky, they're getting a little arrogant, which is why they made the mistake of voting out Jenna last time, are not going to see a blind side coming with that secret alliance of Emily, Stephanie, and Tiff. I think they're going to want to send Charlie home, but I think out of everyone left, Charlie's the most likely to win immunity. So Charlie wins immunity, they have no choice but to send Chrissy home instead. So with this last vote, I think I might have gotten a little too creative, but I just think it would be so good if this is what happened, so I'm going with it. So Charlie tries his best to win the final immunity, knowing he's in very big trouble. He can't pull it out. Stephanie wins it. It turns out that the fans voted for no Final Four fire making, so there is going to be a vote. Charlie knows that he's in huge trouble, so his plea is going to be, look, Emily has played a great game. She's been kind of running it the last vote or two. You had the secret alliance. She's been a very strong player. She's been on the right side of many vote. You need to get her out now. You can't beat her. And I think Stephanie is going to be like, nah, man, I'm not buying that. And I think Tiff is going to bite. So I think what we're going to have happen here is we're going to have a 2-2 tie, Charlie and Emily. And even though the fans voted no fire making in the final four, because we have a tie, it goes to fire making anyway, which highlights how the whole in the hands of the fans thing is kind of BS pandering to try and get fans back into a show that has kind of lost its luster a little bit, when really the things that we're voting for are kind of inconsequential at all, and this is kind of the cherry on top of your vote means nothing. So anyway, Emily and Charlie go to fire making, and Charlie loses, leading to a final three of Emily, Stephanie, and Tiff. So now we've got our final three, we've got our jury. How I see things going from here, I think Emily wins in a landslide. I think she gets 6 of the 8 jury votes, so everyone except for Genevieve and Joe. The reason I think Genevieve is going to vote for Stephanie instead of Emily is just because the two of them have been the closest allies this entire game. So I think it's going to be more of a heart vote than a head vote. With Joe, kind of the same thing. I feel like Joe is going to be very bitter that Emily turned on him and voted him out. I feel like, I don't know what gives me this impression. I just feel like Joe is like a very loyalty forward kind of guy, and even though it was a good move on Emily's part to flip on him and vote him out, he's not going to be able to see it that way, and that's why he's going to vote for Stephanie instead. And then Tiff is going to get kind of roasted at the final tribal council for being a flip-flopper who kind of went back and forth with the wind with not a whole lot of strategy behind it. Alright, so this is what I imagine for Survivor 50. Obviously, I took a lot of guesses, a lot of creative liberty in my kind of storytelling of Season 50, but this is what I'm officially locking in as my prediction. So pre-merge, we're going to lose Angelina, Q, Kyle, Rizzo, Savannah, Ozzy, Rick Devens, Dee, Mike White, Jonathan, Colby, and Coach. Post-merge, we're losing Sari, Joe, Aubrey, Genevieve, Camilla, Christian, Jenna, Chrissy, and Charlie, leaving us with a final three of Emily, Stephanie, and Tiff, with Emily ultimately being the winner. Well, there you have it. My educated guesses as to what the exact boot order of Survivor 50 is. Let me know in the comments, do you agree? I know some of these things were a little bit out there. Do you agree with me? What do you disagree with? I would love to have a conversation about it, and if you have any questions about some of my choices that you want me to explain in the comments, I would gladly do that as well. I love thinking about this kind of stuff. It's so fun. So thank you for watching. If you liked the video, drop a like and subscribe. That would help me out a lot. And if you work at CBS, give me a call. See you next time, everyone.